Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There it is, so you don't miss any of our football content this season. It has been, if I might say, fantastic. It's funny, a lot of the games that were lopsided are actually great stories for us. So Arizona beat the Jets 31-6. And I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers now. And when you put him on the same field as Kyler Murray, and we've been saying this now for several weeks, Arizona's got dudes. Offensively, how about McBride today? That move running over Jets players. At one point, Kyler Murray had 17 straight completions. So I have two takes. Number one is Aaron's become a little like the Washington Wizards MJ. Called out a teammate, Kwame Brown, Mike Williams. Had a buddy as a coach, Hackett, Doug Collins. Had a buddy as a player, Lazard, Charles Oakley, under 500. And there were moments for MJ and Aaron, but he looks like an old man. And that Jets offense is an old man offense. So that's my first take. My second take is they blamed Robert Saleh. This defense has gotten progressively worse. Saleh was the best coach on the staff. They could have gone in, they weren't going to beat Buffalo. But this organization, it's almost like in politics. If you lose an election, you have to identify what went wrong. You can't point fingers. You got to go, here's what we did wrong. Democrats will figure this out eventually, but that's the job. When you're losing, you have to identify why we're losing. The Jets said, it's Saleh. No, bro, the defense now stinks, and it's got good personnel. So, I mean, to me, 31-6, I look at this. Kyler was Aaron Rodgers in the first half, threw for 40 yards. Now, he got junk in the second half, but you know what it feels like a little bit? I do hold quarterbacks responsible for energy and body language, and because, it like in the NBA, you follow the lead, the work ethic of the best player. Some of this is just on Aaron. I see no energy. I don't love the body language. I see no juice. And I'm watching that Arizona team. Those guys, they like playing with Kyler. Whatever you say about the video game stuff, they like playing with him.
Well, I think at this point in time, there can't be that many players who are playing better than Kyler Murray right now. Since he returned from that injury, including last year, they are 9-9. Like that's a real football team.
Yeah.
And this team, I don't see how you watch them today and last week. They're dominating bad teams, like killing them. To me, they sure look like a playoff team to me. And the Jets look like what I thought all along, a team full of mercenaries, a team with zero connection to each other. Hassan Reddick, since the moment he came back, only because the owner ripped up his contract and did, as I think Schefter said, no one has ever got a rework contract who held out as long as him and basically got the fines thrown away that did not get a contract extension. It's unprecedented what happened, and that reflects everything that's going on. They show Woody Johnson that the organization's a mess. Starting from the owner, the quarterback, like he is always what he's been, and anyone in the league will tell you, listen, for a long time, people with the Packers kind of rolled their eyes, but he was arguably, beside Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, the most important player, one of them in the league. Yeah. And he was more physically gifted than those guys. Yeah. And his fundamentals weren't like those guys. So as he's aged, what happens? Today there was a play. I forget the D lineman. He was a rotational D lineman for him. I looked him up. He weighs almost 300 pounds. He ran Aaron Rodgers down. Rodgers ended up getting rid of the ball, but ran him down with ease. This is not a 240-pound linebacker running him down. This is a guy that weighs 300 pounds and got within a couple steps. And Rodgers used to be able to kind of do his version of like what Lamar does so well, kind of backward scramble, run away. Can't even dream of doing that anymore. And that team, the Cardinals defensive coordinator is 32 years old. He was born in 1993. What we witnessed today was a clinic put on by a guy born in 1993 against this 40-year-old future Hall of Famer, adding Devontae Adams, Garrett. I've been hearing about Breece Hall's the greatest thing since Barry Sanders or Walter Payton. Give me a break. The hype on this team far exceeded the realities, even if things went well. What happened today? Tyron Smith, who's had a bad year, legendary player, over-the-hill player, got hurt today. He gets hurt a lot. So it's like they were so dependent on all these guys. They signed Mike Williams. Remember, everyone was so excited. They signed Mike Williams for it's not even Thanksgiving. He's on another team. looks happy
and
as hell.
Performing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think this Jets situation was, I think you saw an organization that just has a direction, has a coaching staff that's real against a team that has an NBA mercenary feel to it. No one cares about. And like you said, the players aren't near what they once were. I mean, Devontae Adams, who, let's face it, is not near what he once was in the peak of his powers. Rodgers a shell of himself. The Reddicks, I mean, how about Sauce Gardner? You talked about Trey McBride. He looks like Kittle 2.0. He threw Sauce Gardner off him like he was me or you. He didn't even have to put his hand to go to the ground. He just kind of shoved him off. This is supposed to be a $100 million corner. He's had a horrendous season. Well, what usually happens with younger players? Like younger people, most young people are followers. And when you have a lot of disconnect, coaches getting fired, a bunch of weird stuff, it's easy to kind of stray. And Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, it just feels like they're all over the map. I don't even put it on them. I put it on the organization. You think Sauce Gardner would look like that if he was playing for Andy Reid? No chance. But that's what happens when you put talented players in dysfunctional places. They usually fall apart.
Yeah.
The Jets stink, Colin. I mean, they are bad. They got, we haven't talked since the Thursday night game. 2 of their touchdowns came with Garrett Wilson. He didn't use his left arm. I mean, that's pretty big outlier, right? I mean, they easily could have lost that game if it wasn't for one of the greatest catches we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think, and the question becomes, does Aaron come back? It's when Brett Favre went to the Jets, he had a lot left in the tank. He went on to Minnesota after that and had a couple of huge years. Aaron's done. There's just nothing there. And he never had the gamesmanship or sort of the foxhole quality of Brett Favre anyway. When you get to be an older radio host, an older quarterback, or an older CEO, you'll have diminishing skills. You'll have less energy. What you want to do is be able to kind of galvanize the group, rally people around you, because you can't put in 80 hours a week. You can put in 65, but you have to rely on people. I've always said Aaron's not a galvanizer. He's not a foxhole guy. He's a bit more of a bailer than a baller. He's a guy that that's why it was so few career come from behind wins. If you go back to 2022, Kirk Cousins has, I think, 15. Aaron has 6. And they're both old guys coming off of surgery. Both have had 2 teams. Cousins isn't cool, so you don't think he's a great come from behind quarterback. He's outstanding. Yeah. Aaron's not. He's living, he's the band now touring, and he's doing old songs. There's nothing new, and I don't think there's a ton of energy.